Hey everyone, welcome back to another Who review. This is Doc in the Box reviewing episode 4 of series 11, Arachnids in the UK, again written by Chris Chibnall. Now, I'm going to start off with the time vortex because that's one of the main pieces of the story that we see for the very first time, but it's not a huge archetype for the story. So the time vortex is completely different, and to me it looks very, very organic. Like a blood cell that's traveling through the veins in the body, trying to get where it needs to go. And I can't say that I'm a fan of it as much just yet. It looks too organic to me. Granted, I do like the idea of the different vortexes or tunnels that the TARDIS has to go through, like a little hub where the TARDIS would pick which area it goes through. I do like that idea, but the feeling and idea and look of the vortex right now, it's going to take me a little bit of getting used to. Now, after that, our heroes are finally home. They land on Earth, they land in front of Yaz's flat, and not to make a pun, lack of better words, it's a very down-to-earth feeling in this whole scene. You have the Doctor that's dealing with loss, not like a traumatic loss, like with the Pawns or Clara or erasing the memories from Donna, but the loss of loved ones, people that the Doctor cares about, potentially leaving the TARDIS and exiting, returning back to their life. The Doctor doesn't deal with this very much and is kind of not wanting to go, and the Doctor, in a sense, has always hated goodbyes. So it was interesting watching the Doctor deal with this, and also Yaz finally invites the Doctor for tea, and of course he gets all perky and excited. Tea at Yaz's, alright, we've never done this before. So that was a really good moment. Also focusing on Yaz, just like any teenager or individual whatsoever who is connected, comes out of the TARDIS and immediately checks if there's any messages, friends, loved ones, or anyone, checking if there's anyone who misses them or is looking for them. But only half an hour had passed, so there wasn't really anyone, and Yaz kind of seems disappointed, like maybe somebody should have noticed that she was gone. But it's only been 30 minutes, so you can understand that you know, maybe you might not have gotten something. But the big story, the big hit for me was Graham. The gravity of Graham just returning to Earth. And it wasn't just the fact that Graham was back on Earth. It was 30 minutes from the moment that he was grieving Grace. Like, from the last time that he had thought about Grace and was grieving her, even though he carries her memories through their travels, it was only a 30-minute gap in Earth time. And when you think about that, that's something that's huge. I mean, he could have been traveling with the Doctor for 5 years in his time, but returning 30 minutes from the moment that you left Earth is big. You still have to process and deal with everything. Returning to their place, seeing her things, her smell is still on her clothing. Like, that is huge. And the fact that Graham has to live with everything and deal with everything, even though he was grieving this entire time through the travels, having it fresh and new was just, oh my gosh, dude, like, Bradley, you did an amazing job with portraying this grief and these memories, and that was just a really great scene. Going on to that scene, seeing Grace there and having her talk to him through his memories, him picturing what she would be saying to him and what she would want him to do now that she's gone, was just very impactful. Now, I'm going to say that during that scene, I actually thought that was going to be something part of the plot. I thought maybe she was a projection from the spider, assuming that there was a spider in their place. I thought maybe the spiders had some type of mental link with their victims, where they could pull a memory and maybe project it to make them more susceptible, to make them pay attention to what they were projecting rather than paying attention to them while they, you know, come down from the ceiling and web them or something like that. I thought Graham was going to be attacked. Wasn't the case, thank goodness, but that would have been a really, really cool and interesting and creepy storyline to go that route, in my opinion. Now we're going back to Yaz's flat, and we see her dealing with her family. And it made me realize that maybe Yaz is just very ungrateful, which disappointed me, because her father seemed very, very interested and endearing in her life and with their family. The mother seemed it as well. The sister was just like a little sister, picking on things, talking down, stuff like that. They had a regular bickering sibling relationship. I didn't see anything necessarily wrong with her family when she said that she, you know, kind of like just loathed them and hated them and just didn't like being around them from before. So it kind of disappointed me that maybe she was just ungrateful for her family after that scene. Then we have the whole conspiracy of the trash, and we'll lead into that later. Actually, no, I'm going to talk about that now. I come to think or realize, I didn't say it in the story, but I think the trash was being pulled to the surface by the spiders. I think that since the spiders lived in the caves, and the caves were being filled with trash, I think the spiders themselves were like trying to get that crap the heck out of there. You know, so they didn't focus on that, but I think that was a small part of the story that they didn't really focus on, was the spiders actually trying to clear out their home because they were upset that was being filled with all this garbage. Now, the bad guy, I can't say was very compelling to me. He started off very ominous. He started off very, like, it seemed like it was going to be a very deep and dark storyline. Like, oh, this is going to ruin me for 2020. You better get rid of this. It could be devastating for us all. But it was just poor waste management. Like, that's really what it came down to. Like, all this trash that he was building his buildings on top of was just getting out of control. And it wasn't as big of a plot point as they made it out to be at the beginning of the episode when Yaz's mother got fired in the hotel. But a lot of it is making me wonder, like, there's a lot of stuff that's focusing around Yaz, and it makes me wonder about her character as well. The doctor in the first episode falls into the train that's in front of Yaz. Yaz gets, of course, everyone gets pulled in, but Yaz is pulled in when she goes to try and find the TARDIS. Yaz is paired with the Doctor when they're picked up and they're in the Medipods in the Ghost Monument. They end up in front of Yaz's place, and Yaz's place has spiders in the place next door. Yaz's mom just happens to be working at the place where the spiders are centralized. And now the next episode... I'm sorry, not the next episode, but in episode 6, we're going to have a whole story that revolves around Yaz's ancestors or something like that. So I'm kind of wondering where they're going with Yaz, but that's a whole other thing whatsoever. I'm sorry for going into that. So yeah, the bad guy just didn't seem very compelling to me. He was just some guy who wanted to run for president and didn't like our current president and just wanted to basically run and rule things. I didn't feel very threatened by him. I thought at first he was going to be some like next Lex Luthor type bad guy, where he was some mastermind, but that just didn't turn out to be the case. The spiders were cool, they were interesting, but then when you find out that they weren't alien, they weren't necessarily intelligent, they were just everything came down to poor waste management. That's really what it came down to, and it didn't seem very interesting to me once you found out what everything was, because the carcasses from the disposed spiders in that lab got thrown into the trash, and all the trash and chemicals made these mutated spiders grow bigger and live longer, and that was it. That was the whole story. I don't think they were really trying to send a message. I think that was just basically their home, because that's where the core of the mine was underneath that hotel, and there just wasn't that much to it. And where I was really let down, I think where I was really let down was the end, because the spider, the mother spider, the big one, was in the ballroom and it was suffering, and the doctor, it didn't seem like the doctor had a plan. The doctor said, we're going to herd it out, and we're going to get it out of here. And Graham is telling the doctor, hey, you know, it's killed all these other people. Like, what are we going to do with it in the wild? And there was no answer. It didn't seem like there was an actual thought out proper plan for where the story was going to go. And then the bad guy comes in and he shoots the spider dies. And that's basically the end of the story. I just felt very let down by the end of this episode, especially with the amount of suspense they picked up at the beginning of it, because I was so into it. It was so interesting and so cool, and then it just fizzled out at the end. And then the use of the song that Ryan lured the spiders with, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the song. I can't say I was a fan. I don't know if it was big, maybe big in the UK, and my taste being from the US, maybe I just didn't like it so much. But it was a full-on minute of the episode where they were playing that song, and it just didn't appeal to me. I mean, maybe it appealed to younger people. I haven't talked to my 14-year-old son about it. He might have actually liked it because he liked some of the other music choices, but it felt very out of place to me. I liked the idea of a huge bass hip-hop song right there because that would be fitting. I thought it would be appropriate, the vibrations and everything, but that specific song choice felt out of place to me. I don't know. But then again, I wasn't familiar with the song at first, so maybe that was my fault for not being in the loop of things. Honestly, overall, I felt kind of let down by this episode. I really didn't know if this is the way that Chibnall was writing the episode, or if he didn't know how to end it and just had the villain shoot the spider and kill it. Because then it begs the question, what do they do with the carcass? How do they get it out of there? And will the labs continue to experiment on this new huge big spider that they've accidentally did? I don't know. I just felt let down. It wasn't a horrible episode, but it's not going to be one that I go back and watch over and over. It was just, I think the whole beginning was great, and I really loved that point of the episode. Reiterating again, I felt let down. If you have anything else, if you thought or saw anything differently, please let me know. If you loved the episode, please tell me why. I'd be interested to know different points or different takes on how everything, how you interpreted things, or maybe there was something that you saw that I didn't. Because I'm only thinking of things from my point of view. So please comment below, hit those likes and subscribes if you were interested in this video. If you want to see other ones, I'm going to recap all these series, this whole series. And once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Like this video? Go ahead and hit that like button. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos that are released by Temple of Geek. Also, head over to templeofgeek.com to find all sorts of content related to the world of geek.